So, good evening. Again, we will start as usual with a short breathing exercise, meditations. Then we can try to think, the one of the main cause of our unhappiness, our problem, conflict is our own selfish attitude, our own egoistic mind. If we don't have that strong selfish attitude, egoistic mind, we will not experience a lot of the conflict, pain, and sufferings. Due to others' behavior, actions, response, reaction, whatever. Therefore, if we want to have less conflict, if we want to get less hurt, less unhappy, more peace, more happy, we need to reduce and eventually overcome that selfish attitude and that egoistic mind. Otherwise, just changing the external factors will not make any much difference. And in order to minimize and overcome the selfish attitude, we need to cultivate the counter force of or the remedy, the antidotes of loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta mind. And to do that, we need to practice, meditate correctly. And to do that, we need to study, be reminded. And for that very reason, why we are here. So it can be reminded, so we can continue to practice, even if it's on very small scale. Even if it is not very strong and powerful, still we try to practice as much as possible, even if it's for a short period. And may our cause and conditions of coming together here it lead to fully enlightenment, so that we can be most benefit to all sentient beings. Okay.
Page 73. We'll do the first verse once. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Page 76, down towards the bottom, the Heart of Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time, the Bhagavan was dwelling on the Master of Vulture's Mountain, in Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perfection. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage, who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form. Form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, in all phenomena are emptiness, without categories, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not division, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on up to, including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, so on up to, including no aging and death, no extinction and aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation in the path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times
also manifestly, completely awaken to the unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of the great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth since it is not false. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from the concentration and commanded the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that. It is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding the entirety, along with the worlds of gods, human, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan.
Page 98, or it might be at the bottom of 97, the short mandala offering.
Sashi Peki Chonshin Meto Tam Viralin Ni Te Gembadim Sangye Shendo Mi Te Uwa Indo Kunamta Shinla Chöbashom Yedam Gururana Mandala Ganiyatayami.
Refuge in bodhicitta, once in English, twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge
until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodan Sogi Chonam La Changchu Bardu Dani Shaksuchi Dagi Choshe Gibe Sonamgi Drola Penche Sangye Dubarsho Sangye Chodan Sogi Chonam La Changchu Bardu Dani Shaksuchi Dagi Choshe Gibe Sonamgi Drola Penche Sangye Dubarsho Kanje Duje Nirone, Tawa Duje Bombeche, Tambeshune Dujebe, Godam de la Chatso. As we discussed last week, as it is explained in Lama Tsongkhapa's Lam-Rim, as well as Shantideva's Guides to Both Way of Life, Nagarjuna's Precious Garland, and all the sutras, one of the main root cause of our suffering, our pain, our problem is our own self-centeredness, selfish attitude. And together with the self-grasping ignorance, from these two, then where all the sufferings, all the problems arises. And if we really kind of check and observe our own mind, when our mind is disturbed, agitated, unhappy, if we really look, even though, immediate temporary cause and condition might be many things, but if you go beyond that superficial surface cause and conditions, external conditions, if you go that on deeper level, it is our own, this, the selfish mind and self-grasping ignorance. As long as we have those afflictive emotions in our heart, no matter what we change externally, we can change the place, we can change the job, we can change our partner, we can change everything, still problem doesn't go away. The problem of not being happy, the problem of not being satisfied, the problem of having conflict with others, it never stops. But the moment we are able to let go of that, the moment we have no more self-grasping ignorance, selfish attitude, then you don't have to change anything externally. You don't have to change your job. You don't have to change your place. You don't have to change your partner. You don't have to change all of that. Even within the same place, in same environment, with same people, you can still find peace. You can still find joyfulness. You can still find happiness. And we have done that. We have done that, trying to change the external things. We have done all our life. Have we found more peace? People have changed 5 times, 10 times of their partners. They have changed 20 times of their jobs. They have changed many places because we feel this place is not the best place. And we are unhappy because of the place. We are unhappy because of the job and people in the job, colleague. We are unhappy because of your relationship, but have they find more joy, more happiness by changing? No. Maybe when we change at the very beginning, it feels a little bit relief. And you might feel like there's a certain point of relief and joy and happiness. It's because you are away from that and for 4 moments. But then again, same thing. Again, same problem. Over the matter of time, then you begin to see problem with the place. You begin to see problem in that organization, the job that you are doing. You begin to see problem in your partners. And again, you started to become disappointed, unhappy, and dissatisfied. That keep on going. We should be learning by that, but still we haven't learned with all this experience. Having done that and so many times and facing same situation again and again, still always hoping that again, it is a different experience all the time. We keep repeating that. And the problem is because instead of trying to change inside, we're trying to change outside, and that is the case. If we started to change inside, then maybe we wouldn't be in situation where we are now, And sometimes, every time we had conflict, we always think it's the other person's. And we always think, if I could change, if there is new managers, new director, I will be happy. But new manager comes, director comes, you will be happy for a certain period, and then again you find same problem. And we see that everywhere, you know, whether it's in business, whether it's in a non-profit organization, even centers. We are not happy with the previous CEO, director. We complain how it's not working, and then we change, another one come, and again we're excited there is change, things will be better, and then after some time again we feel, oh, it's not better, and unhappy, and again we complain, and again we're unhappy, and then again we will change, again new come, and then we're excited again, and that keep on repeating, never end, never end. Whoever, even if we bring His Holiness the Lama to become the president of our organizations, and if you have spent enough time over the time, you will still find, you will be unhappy with that. Even you bring Buddha himself, you know, yes, we feel if they were the leader, it wouldn't be a problem because we don't have to deal every day. But if you have to deal them with every day, because of our own delusions, we will project so many things there. And we feel it's not my projection, it's there. It's that there is that shortcoming of that person's. And that is why we are unhappy. But a lot of time it's the projections of our own mind there. And so, you know, and that is where it reminds me of one of the advice His Holiness the Lama always give, you know, when you come to the big monasteries like Sera Devun Ganden, he always says, you know, to the students, he says, it is easy for you to have a faith in me because of my titles, because I'm distant, I come here only once a while. But the teacher that you spend every day together there in the monastery, where you sit all the time, you might, because our own mind, you begin to see more fault in them. And you might not have same level of respect or some level of faith in them than as you will have with me, you know. And that is what I used to say, you know, it's like dating and getting married, you know. When you are in dating, you enjoy because you are not staying every day together, you know. You don't have to do, certain days you meet and you go and have a nice time and talk. But once you get married, when you have to live together, then that is when you begin to see everything, and that is when you begin to have more conflict. Same, and that is same. It's not necessarily because of others, it's because of our own mind. And that is where I'm saying, even His Holiness come, even the Buddhas come and become the director, CEO, leader of the organization, will, because of our own mind, unsubdued mind and our own delusion, we will see a lot of problems and we will be not happy with that. So it becomes more and more clear it's coming from our mind, and it's so important, you know. At least maybe we can, at least while trying to change the outside situation, at least we are trying paying enough attention to also trying to change inside. But we hardly do that. It's always outside, you know. And and especially it becomes more difficult when we are in situation. When we are not situation, maybe it's easy for us to see that how it works. But when you are already in conflict, then you can't, it is hard to see that. And you see, it's nothing to do with my mind. It's all there, you know? And so it is very, especially when we don't have a strong conflict, and because it's easy to kind of look inside and to accept that, we have to train at that time and slowly learning to pay more attention and understanding that more and more. And then even when we have big conflict, then we begin to see where it comes from, what is the really source of that conflict, and where does that come from? Why is I'm so unhappy? Why I'm so satisfied? Why I'm so bitter? Why I'm so frustrated? Why am I so unhappy with that individual, whatever? And then you begin to see it's not only that person's action and behavior. It's coming from my side, my mind, you know? And so that is, yeah. And so with that understanding, then we try to reduce those selfish attitudes and self-grasping, ignorance as much as possible by cultivating wisdom and bodhicitta, you know. And that is all the Buddha's teaching are basically that, to cultivate and to develop and to increase in that wisdom and that bodhicitta mind to the highest level, you know. I guess we are page number 144, 34. And second, yeah. And so in Shantideva was a way of life. What need is there to say anymore? The childish work for their own welfare, and the munis here referring to the Buddha, you know, Buddha Shakyamuni, the Buddha for the welfare of others. Look at the difference between two. And so he's saying, you know, we don't need so much explanations of where the selfish attitude lead to, what kind of result it lead to, and the cherishing thought for others of loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta. We cherish others, how that attitude lead to what kind of result. And he is saying, you know, look at our situation and look at the Buddha's situations and state of beings. The Buddha is in that state now, you know, fully enlightened, free from all the obscurations, having completed and perfected all the positive qualities, knowledge, all of that, and have ultimate happiness, who can perform, you know, limitless benefit each moment, simultaneously, spontaneously, all of that. And look at our state, full of delusions. Full of delusions, still in samsara, experience all kinds of suffering, physical suffering, emotional suffering. And look at our state now, look at our situation and compare to that Buddha's situations and state. Why we have these two different states? Because we follow the selfish attitude. Because we have been following selfish attitudes from the beginner's time. We have become, as I always say, you know, faithful, become a very faithful servant to a selfish attitude. Very loyal. We have been very loyal servant to the selfish attitudes, and we have been following that all through, from beginner's lifetime and all through this life. And that's why we are still in this state. That is why we are still in this state. Why? That is why we are still samsara. That's why we are full of those delusions, full of suffering, unenlightened. Whereas the Buddha tried to, overcome by applying antidotes, remedy through practices to overcome the selfish attitude, and trying to cultivate and develop and following the attitude of cherishing others. Because of that, that is where he has. That's why he in that state now. That's why he was able to achieve that state. At one time we were in same. At one time in our life, many lifetimes, the Buddha and we were in the same page. Maybe we were doing better than him at one time. But now it has shifted in so different way. And the reason is because Buddha chose to not to follow and become a servant of the selfish attitude. Whereas we choose to do that, or we follow that, and that is the result. And so that here is saying, again, so he, with that result, then we can compare why there is two different kind of such result is because of following to a different attitude. One follow selfish attitude and one follow attitude of cherishing others, and that is the result. One's happiness and suffering of others, if one fails to exchange them directly, one will not reach Buddhahood, and samsara will also be without happiness. And so unless we exchange, unless we exchange the attitudes out of cherishing thought for others, willing to take on others' sufferings, willing to liberate others' suffering, willing to take on others' suffering, out of cherishing thought for others, the willingness to give happiness for others, our own happiness for others, that unless we change that kind of attitude, then not only we will not be able to achieve fully enlightenment, but also while we are in samsara, you will not be able to find real happiness. And again, for us, it's hard to find mental peace and happiness. Even when we have physical good health, still our mind is not so in good health. Our mind is always kind of, bothered by something. Our mind is kind of bothered by something. With all different emotions, all different thoughts, feelings, all the time something. Sometimes we are upset, sometimes we are angry, sometimes we have resentfulness, sometimes we have bitterness, sometimes we are frustrated. Sometimes we have self-doubt, sometimes we have doubt of others, suspicious of others. And sometimes we have doubt about ourselves and all of that. And we have so much worry in our life. All of that, something, some kind of emotions, feelings always active, and that make our mind kind of unsettled and unable to find mental peace, mental happiness. Even when we are enjoying food or the weather, still another level, your mind is complaining about something. The food is nice, the service is not nice. The food is nice, beautiful, the place is not good. Always not being fully happy, even in good cases, you know. So, and because, you know, we have too much selfish attitude and too much egoistic mind. And we don't have that, you know, the bodhicitta mind that comes through exchanging self with others, you know, because of that. And so that is why we struggle to find peace, happiness, true peace and happiness while we are in samsara. It's so clear, it's so clear. It's all about me, my well-being, my happiness. You know, even when we want to help someone, we want to help on my conditions. You know, I want to help you, but it has to be my way. If it is not my way, I don't want to help. Even when we're trying to be nice, generous, compassionate, still there is, you know, selfish on certain level. I want my way. Even when we want to help, you know, and a lot of time, you know, it is interesting, you know, our mind. If someone doesn't kind of write you, call you, and this, you think, oh, they don't care anymore. They don't love me anymore. They don't care me anymore because they don't call me, they don't write me, they don't ask me, all of that, all different things. And then if they started writing and calling you and you get annoyed why they are calling when I'm busy, you know, they don't know you are busy, you know, but then you start to get annoyed. Why is that person calling so much? Why is that person writing so much? Don't they know I'm busy? And why when I'm busy, why? And so it's all, you want them to do certain way in your convenience, the way you want. You want them to write when you have more, when you are relaxed. You don't care about whether they have time or not that time. It's more about my convenience. This is interesting. Do you see? It's very interesting. And why we are unhappy, no matter what it does, because it has to be according to my convenience. And if that is not the case, then our mind is kind of a little bit kind of disturbed. You know, even someone kind of, you know, yeah. And so it is so many examples like that, so many examples, and it becomes clear, it's clear, you know, and that is where, you know, that is where the problem comes. And so therefore it's hard to really find a happiness. Even when we need help, we want help, but then we want them to do the way we want, you know, whatever help they are trying to do. If they don't do the way you want them to do, you might get a little bit upset. And instead of appreciating their help, you might start to become annoyed. You know. And a lot of time it happens, people come and help us, and then sometimes they don't do the way we want them to do, and we get annoyed. And I wish they didn't come to help, you know. And why did that happen, you know? Someone is trying to be kind, someone trying to be generous, someone trying to help you at the same time, because of my selfish attitude, the way it should be done, the way I want. The way I want. Right? And that is, and you see there where the conflict comes from. It becomes clear when we look that way. And that is why we are, no matter what we do, it's hard to find us happy, try to have the peace and happiness. On other hand, if we have compassion, more than selfish attitudes, it's more sense of concern for others, more compassion, more loving kindness, more bodhicitta, then you appreciate, even though maybe they are not doing exactly as you want, but you will see how kindness they are. You feel their gratitude, appreciative of their being their generosity, their support, their kindness. And that gives you more peace, more happiness, to feel that gratitude, to be able to appreciate, to feel and see their kindness. So then you have more peace, you have less conflict, less struggle in your mind. And so therefore that is, you know, even in samsara, it's hard to find peace and happiness if we have strong selfish attitude. If we don't have the bodhicitta mind, the loving kindness, compassion. And here Lama Tsongkhapa, just as it is expressed here, you should think of cherishing oneself as the door to all degeneration and cherishing others as the basis of all. So then, you know, by using all different quotations that you find in Nagarjuna's, Shantideva's, Chandrakirti's, and sutras, as well as applying to your own experience, and then trying to really see with your own experience how that selfish attitude is the very root of our all degeneration, our problem, our conflict, our sufferings, and then understanding how cherishing thought for others, when we have more cherishing thought for others, sense of loving kindness, compassion, how that brings us more peace, more happiness, more joy to oneself, to others. And so the more you reflect, the more you understand that, and more you understand, more deeper, more profound with your own experience, not just from scripture books, but once you take that understanding, knowledge, and observe and investigate your own feelings, and you realize that, and then you more and more you begin to understand on more profound level, more deeper level, the needs to overcome that selfish attitude, the needs to cultivate cherishing, the attitude of cherishing others. And the more you have deeper and profound understanding on that, the more effort you put to overcome that, reduce and overcome selfish attitudes, and to cultivate and increase the cherishing thought for others. And the more you put more effort, the better result you have. At the moment, our practice is very, very shallow. Even when we try to do practice, it's kind of very shallow. And because it doesn't come from that kind of profound, deep understanding. It comes from very kind of shallow understanding. You know, shallow understanding lead to that kind of practice, shallow practice. Whereas when it comes from much more profound, deeper understanding, your practice will be much more profound and deep and strong. And second, so it seems very difficult at the moment, you know, to exchange that attitude, you know. So to be able to cherish others more than yourself, to be able to cherish others the way you cherish yourself now, which means at the moment we cherish ourselves more than others. So changing that attitude and now cherishing others even more than yourself. And that seems not easy and difficult. But here, as Shandeva says, Lama Tsongkhapa says, you know, if we train and if we practice, and through training, practice, and with the familiarity, there's nothing that cannot become easy. And no matter how difficult it seems at the very beginning. And so that is why, because that is very important to understand, you know. If we feel it is absolutely possible to cultivate loving kindness, true loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, cherishing thought for others, or exchanging self with others. If we really are convinced, the more stronger convinced you are that is possible, the more inspiration that will give you to practice and to achieve that. You know, if you think it is not possible, it wouldn't give you any inspiration. It is a nice, but it's not for me, because it's not possible for me. And so it wouldn't give you the inspirations, the energies, and you wouldn't put so much effort. And then the result will be similar, you know. And that is same in everything, isn't it? When you think you can accomplish, you can success, then there's more energy, there's more effort. And when you feel something's not possible, then it's hard to have the inspirations and the dedications and the effort. And so second, in the same way, the fear used to arise in you, even in hearing your enemy's name. Later, having met up, you become friends and become very sad if he was absent. Likewise, due to the mind-following habits, you can familiarize yourself with seeing yourself like someone else and other like yourself. In the same text, it says, so it's saying example giving, you know. At the very beginning, you might have, you know, fear of just hearing someone's name, your enemy, you know, fear, or even it could be fear, it could be very bitterness, it could be very upsetting, anger, frustration, the moment you hear about that person. I think we have good example now. People doesn't like to take the name because it disturbs their minds, you know. So that is how it is. Just hearing the name itself disturbs your mind so much. But, you know, it's possible over the time as you begin to know person on personal level. On personal level, you might change your relationship. You might change your perceptions. And you can become a good friend. And such a good friend, when that person is not around, you started to feel missing them. So how it could change from opposite kind of experience. I mean, I can see with even, even politically, we see, a lot of people who are so upset and so angry with George Bush when he was president. In recent time, many of them started liking him. This is not on personal level, but it's in general level. How we change our perceptions and our feelings towards them. Even John McCain, a lot of people who dislike him so much started to like him after some of his actions. From villain become a hero. Some of them from hero to villains. It can so easily kind of change. That is on bigger level, but on personal level also it happens, and so that comes with knowing the persons and being close and familiar with that persons. Sometimes we might have certain image of someone from distant, okay, when you don't know the person personally. But when you know the personally, experience could be different. Your image could be different. It happens to everyone. A lot of people who have a negative image and resistance to certain spiritual practitioner or for certain different set of peoples, because they have never interacted with them. Only they know about it through reading and news and all of that, So their image of those people is different. So they get very upset and angry. But once they started to kind of interact with the people with different religious, spiritual path, different culture, different background, then begin to say, oh, they are just like us human beings. Their perception could change. Their relation could change. And that is exactly what is happening in all over the world. Bigger city where they already have a lot of different cultures, different people, different language, they intermingle, and they know on personal level, they have friends from different, and so they have different image, and they have different experience, different feeling. But when it is predominated by one set of people, whether it's black, whether it's white, whether it's brown, whatever, and they have not mingled with others peoples, they have little fear because it's unknown, and they have different image, and they have more resistance. And that is the case, that is, and I think also that is important for us to understand that. Why some people have such a resistance, because they have never had that experience. Many of them, they live in certain, whole their life, they live in certain environment where they are not exposed to others and where they don't have personal relationship to others. And so therefore, they have different image, but once they started, they could have changed their mind, their attitudes, their, And through that, we need to have more compassion for them too, even though we don't agree with their behavior of that. But if we understand where they come from, we can have more compassion. For us, if we have not mangled like ourselves, we are very fortunate that you have been able to have access in your life to meet different peoples and intermingle with them and know different peoples, different spiritual path, different culture and therefore we have a different, because we have friends and good people, we know from all of that. So we have different, we might have more open, more accepting, more welcoming, because we know on personal level they are good peoples. But a lot of people doesn't have that kind of experience. And supposedly you grow up in an environment where you don't have any access to other kind of people, culturally, religiously, language-wise, and the way you look, then we could just become fearful of others. So I think it is important, I think, to feel compassion for people who have that kind of attitude and where they are coming from, you know. And that is, I try to apply that in everything. And I always feel I'm so grateful, fortunate of certain environment, my karma, whatever, that I was brought up. If I have brought up in a different environment, I could have totally different perspective of the world, totally different perspective of the things, you know. So sometimes we don't understand our fortunate circumstances and others' unfortunate circumstances. And then we started to think we are kind of open and they are too narrow and all of that, you know. And then we can become a very unforgiving and very harsh and unkind to those kind of people who might have that kind of attitude. And a lot of time, because of the environment they grow up in, they were not exposed to others. And it would have been same for us if we were not exposed, most likely, you know. Yes.
Well, there's two things. One is one of the divides in the country is the people is along the lines of people who see more immigrants or live with them and know that there's no problem, and others who live in more isolated areas and don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I know even when you live a long time, like where I was living on the coast, it was fine when there weren't too many people there.
Mm-hmm.
And over a period of about 25 years, the population quadrupled. And all of a sudden, there were little factions of people who, it was amazing gossip. It was like a small town. It was sort of stretched out. The things people thought about each other, they didn't really know each other well enough. And yet the stories were really, really, really interesting sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it happens, I think it is true, you know, a lot of things, it's not necessarily people are unkind. It's just the fear.
Yeah.
It's just the fear. You know, before you are the dominating majority and now you feel you are going to become a minority. And that fear is not because they hate that, but there's fear that we used to be majority and now we become minority. And if we become minority, then we will have to follow those majority and they will be the boss. That kind of fear is everywhere in every culture. Everywhere when there's, and so again, a lot of them are driven by that kind of fear, not necessarily because they are very mean people, and that is happening all over the world, and so I think the point that the reason why I'm kind of, even though maybe I shouldn't be going there, but I actually went there quite a bit in time, because I think we have to have some compassion of those people. And in order to have compassion, we need to have a understanding where that comes from. If you understand that, you can have some compassion for them while you don't agree with their behavior, their actions, and all of that. But you can feel where they come from and you can have compassion. That is the key, not to have so much bitterness and so much negative feelings, ill will feelings, but to be able to have certain level of compassion. And all that comes only you have more deeper understanding where that comes from. And feeling how fortunate we are to have a different mindset because of different environment. And so, yeah. Oh, so I was talking about the enemies and familiar with even with the enemy. If you begin to know personally and over the time that you could change your experience and your feelings, and that will be same with every in every case. In same way, even with the exchanging self with others, even though it isn't very difficult, but if you familiarize and get used to that and knowing that with the practice over the time, then it can become our perspective, our attitude could change from being selfish attitude, from being a selfish attitude to the attitude of cherishing others. So it is possible. And as Shandeva said, there is nothing that cannot become easy with the familiarity. And we have all experience on physical level and emotional level, Some of people who struggle to sit cross-leg, half or full cross-leg for even 1 second or even 1 minute with a practice over the time, with familiarity, habit, and practice, then they can sit hours without any pain, without any struggles. That is practice, familiarity. People who struggles to be able to concentrate even within one breath, one inhaling, exhaling, their mind is already somewhere else. Even they cannot concentrate even for one circle of inhaling, exhaling. With the practice, then they can stay for minutes, hours without being so distracted. And that is again with the practice, familiarity. And same thing with all the mind. And so therefore, the mind is even more flexible than physical flexibility, because the mind is non-physical, so therefore it has more flexibility. And so if we train, it can be molded in whatever way we want. Unlike like physical matter, there is some restrictions because of matters, and so do not avoid things because they are difficult. By strength of familiarity, one whose name has frightful to hear will make you sad if he is away. It is not at all that hard to proceed. My body as belongs to others. So then Lama Tsongkhapa, if you think since someone's body is not my own body, how could it be appropriate to generate the same attitude of mind towards it? And this body, and so if we had that kind of mind, then here to answer that, this body also created from the semen and the blood of our parent. Even though it was created from the parts of others' body, we hold it to be I by the power of previous familiarity, Likewise, if we familiarize ourselves with cherishing others' body as if it were our own, this mind will also arise in the same text says. So here is a training. Even though it is hard at the moment to feel someone's life as your own life, therefore you are unable to cherish them. If you feel it is like your own life, you will cherish easily. It doesn't require any effort and to cherish ourselves, we cherish ourselves. So, but to cherish others is a struggles, because we don't feel others as your others' life as your own life at the moment. And so here is saying, how can someone's life, how can you feel it is your own life? And so here the example giving is even your body, actually it doesn't belong to you. It's actually your parents. The cause of the body is developed through the eggs and what you call blood or semen and blood of the parent. And then because of previous, from the previous, then the moment we have that, we start to feel it's my body and my life. And then with the familiarity, then it feel like it is your, it doesn't feel like it come from them and it belong to them, you know. And so that is true familiarity. And so in same way, if we practice, then slowly through practice, you can feel others' life as your own life through training. And when you feel others' life as your own life, then it becomes easy to cherish that and to be able to cherish. And so that's where. Therefore, with regard to the drops of someone's else body, like our parent, blood and semen, you apprehend yourself like that, get used to it regarding others. And so if you practice, then also same, you know, through reflection on the advantage and disadvantage of those lines. So advantage of cherishing thought for others and disadvantage of selfish attitude along this line that has explained Lord. A strong enthusiasm for the meditations to overcome the selfish attitudes and to cultivate the cherishing thought for others will arise from the depth of your heart, as I already mentioned before. And having seen that, when you have that, that enthusiasm coming from depth of your heart, that inspirations and that enthusiasm coming from your depth of heart, and with that, if you familiarize yourself with that practice, in that way, you can generate this attitude, you know, the attitude of exchanging self with others. And since you can generate that, therefore you should meditate on that. And so you should meditate and practice that, because it's something possible. And not only possible, if you are able to generate it, that will change your experience for betterness on spiritual level as well as on worldly level. On spiritual level, you know, you will enter the path, both Sadhava's path, and each moment you are getting closer and closer to enlightenment. You know, you are progressing on the spiritual path from one path to another path, and all of that. But also on a worldly level, you know, you will have more peaceful mind, more calm mind, more happy mind, and because of that, you will also have more physical good health as well. So you have mental good, that will help you to have emotional well-being as well as physical well-being. So that is, so on both emotional level and physical level. So removing the obstacle. The third has 3 points: removing obstacle and actual way to meditate. First, what is called exchanging oneself with others? So because we hear that all the time, exchanging self with others. So here he's saying, what is the meaning of that? And making oneself into others and making others into oneself does not mean training the mind that thinks. That person is me, his eyes, and so forth, or my eyes, and so forth. It doesn't mean that. When we say exchanging self with others, it doesn't mean like when you see his body, then you say, oh, this is my body, it's me, and all of that. And seeing, oh, your own body, this is others' body, this is others' eyes. It's not talking about that. So he's saying, when we say exchanging self with others, it's not exchanging that way. It's about changing the attitude that we already, it will come. Rather is to change the positions of two, the mind that cherishes oneself and the mind that neglects others. So at the moment, we overly cherish ourselves, yeah? We overly cherish. It's not just cherishing, okay? And here I want to kind of, because again, cherishing word is a little bit kind of the way you use in normal and the way we use self-cherishing as the root of all suffering is a different. And so that is why I'm trying to use overly cherishing instead of just cherishing, because the way we use in normal way cherishings, you know, and so that is why selfish attitude or self-centeredness or overly cherishing. So at the moment, we overly cherish ourselves and we totally kind of ignore and neglect others. So changing that attitude is the key, and to generate mind. So how we change is, so that is a present state of our attitude. And now when we change, then trying to cultivate, to generate the mind that cherishes others like we cherish ourselves at the moment, cherishing them more than oneself. At the moment, we cherish ourselves more than others. And so now cherishing oneself, cherishing others more than oneself, neglect ourselves like neglect others. I don't think neglect here is maybe the English word, maybe it's not. Neglecting doesn't mean you don't take care of yourself, but not openly cherishing the way we do at the moment. You do have to take care of yourself. The Mahayana teachings doesn't say you don't take care of yourself. The problem is overly doing that, overly cherishing. Cherishing itself is not a problem. Not only that, you have to take the logical point of view. I think there are a lot of people who think taking care of yourself, having compassion for yourself is not a Mahayana, is not a Bodhisattva path. Sometimes there is some people who argue, they think it's selfish, but I don't think so. When we talk about great love, or great compassions, having compassion each and every sentient beings. When you talk about bodhicitta, it's talking about having that to each and every sentient beings. Are you one of the sentient beings or not? That is my argument. If you are neglecting yourself, and if you if you don't take care of that yourself, you are neglecting one sentient beings. You are ignoring one sentient beings. If you ignore one sentient beings, if you neglect one sentient being, that can't be great compassion, that can't lead to bodhicitta mind. The only way to have the great compassion and bodhicitta, to embrace every sentient beings, and you are one of the sentient beings. Especially in the West, I think, and nowadays, I think in the West, and I think in general, and a lot of social workers, or at least maybe many of them, they don't talk. Sometimes they don't take care of themselves. They neglect themselves in the process of trying to help. But that is, in the end, it is not healthy. A lot of time those people burn out, and a lot of them people sometimes they become very bitterness after sometimes. And because when you don't take care of yourself, then people started to what you call maybe they don't take care of themselves. They are unable to take care of their family because they are, and then everything break down, everything kind of, and then slowly they blame for that others. Do you get it? For your situation now, you cannot everything's kind of fall down, or everything's messed up somewhere, and you don't have the tools to deal with that, and now you blame that because of everything that I did for that. And so then sometimes it can end up in a kind of and so therefore, while not neglecting yourself, but at the same time taking care of yourself, at the same time taking care of others, and if possible even more of that, that is a more healthy way of doing it, and I think and
found with UN, people working with the United Nations, the UN in Africa and all, they had to force people to take leave because they were going through, they were just losing their compassion. They went into complete compassion fatigue. They were working so hard, but there was so much suffering around them. It just was really pulling them down, and so they started setting up a length of time that people could be there. And forward those things, and sending people home, otherwise they would be able to handle it.
Yeah, so I think if you do, I think there is a lot of research that can show, if you are not taking care of, if you neglect, I think it's hard to take care of others. The balancing middle way is key to everything. And Buddha has not only in terms of the view, he talked about the middle way in terms of the view of emptiness, free from two extremes, but also applying that in every aspect of the life. Everything. It is a. The problem is, it's not easy to find the balance, the middle way. That even though that is the solution. That is also why it was taught that one's own happiness and suffering of others should be exchanges. At the moment, because we cherish overly, we don't want to give happiness to share our happiness to others, and we don't want others suffering to ourselves. We try to avoid it, but when we exchange, then you wouldn't have the fear. You wouldn't have the fear once you have developed bodhicitta mind. You wouldn't have the fear to take on others' suffering. You wouldn't have any hesitation to give and share your happiness to others. You would have a courage and confidence to experience and to take on others' suffering and pain without any kind of but at the moment is, and so that is where, so then that can become impossible once we are having perceived self-cherishing as our enemy, as I have been saying, overly self-cherishing as our, and we will stop making our own happiness our priority, and so at the moment it's all about our happiness, our well-beings, and so that wouldn't be the case. At least it will be is happiness of all our happiness, all sentient beings' happiness. If not the others, if the others, even if we cannot become others more than ourselves, at least that equally, our that, and that is a, even we can do that, is a big progress. And so having perceived cherishing others as excellent qualities and cause of our happiness, others' happiness, our peace, other peace, and having stopped neglecting the suffering of others, we will make it our priority to eliminate it. So then trying to work for the welfare of others, while not totally ignoring yourself, but also making that as a priority while taking care of yourself. So once we have done able to, then we will be able to do, once we have been able to exchange self with others, we will be able to do that. In short, we will act for the sake of eliminating suffering of others without concern for our own happiness, without being too fearful. At the moment we have a lot of fear. If I try to help others, what will happen to me, and all of that, there's a lot of fear that stop us from being helpful, from being helping others, benefiting others. A lot of fear, and that comes from, again, that selfish attitude. And if you don't have fear, then you will be able to do that more. It doesn't mean you are not taking care of yourself, but and if we really see, why we are unable to reach out others to help and benefit, and even though we always feel, oh, I don't have the resource, I don't have the capacity, I don't have the time, all of that, but then all of that is fear. If I do that, what will happen to me? It's a fear of that. If I give, what will happen to me? If I share, what will happen to me? And a lot of time, if you are able to help, whether you are giving material things, whether you are giving time, whether you are giving your knowledge, whether you are giving your skill, whatever, you know, it's not necessarily going to make you starve to death, or is not necessarily your life will be miserable or very bad. But that is how we feel. If I don't have enough to do, and if I give, what will happen to me? And so there is a lot of fear in that, and that become another blockage, obstacles for us to reach out and be more helpful and more beneficial.